Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist Podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist Podcast. This is the 139th iteration of the show, and we're recording on the 3rd of May, 2015. And with me as always on the other microphone is...
co-host extraordinaire, Ryan Kirkby.
Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Well, I was doing pretty good. I got some free swag this week.
Free swag. Oh, we just had Free Comic Book Day.
Oh yes, by the way, the other voice you are hearing is Josh Treleaven.
Oh yeah, that's me. That's my voice.
Just make sure introductions are done properly. But yes, we cannot tell you, the countdown for, Free Comic Book Day without using 3-digit numbers, because it was yesterday. 364 days, give or take, because, differences in schedule.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a leap year. Is it a leap year? What? It'll be 2016 next year.
Oh, it will be a leap year. Okay, yeah, but, like May, like the first weekend in May switches, anyway, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 350 days, then double check your calendar. Because apparently if you didn't get it this year, you weren't checking your calendar well enough.
So, Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah. Between me and my wife, we got 7 comics. Mm-hmm. 3 each and 1 for an extra giveaway sort of thing. They were just given out for everybody who wanted one. Mm-hmm. There was a lineup. We had to wait to get through the door.
Oh, so there were several locations in town. Which one did you go to?
We went to the Curious Comics location. Okay. We did not go to the next door one, Yellow Jacket one, when they opened. We figured we got a decent amount of free comics, and we didn't want to risk anybody not getting the free comics that they might have wanted, so we decided to opt to not collect as much swag as possible. That was just a purely personal choice on that. Matter.
Well, I got a whole stack because I went to multiple. I think I went to 4 locations altogether.
Oh my!
I really cleaned up on it. I mean, some of these comic books don't even say free comics on it, so I'm wondering.
You were just walking around taking comics and leaving, weren't you, dude?
I'm pretty sure they were on the same table as the free comics.
I will say this: I did do a check on the location realtor, and according to what I saw, there was 3 locations. There's 2 Curious Comics, one in downtown Victoria, one over in Langford, mm-hmm. and then the Yellow Jacket, which is just down the street from the downtown one. And you went to 4 locations?
Yeah, there's another comic book shop in between. What's it called now? Legends.
Yes.
Right beside those 2. They also did Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, then in that case they should get a hold of the website, because they weren't listed on there.
Oh, they weren't, eh?
No, okay. I double-checked. There was only 3 listings. That's why, just the morning of, okay, wake up early. Let's make sure I got everything going up right here. Let's get the directions. Let's make sure it is these locations I am doing. I'm not going to walk down there before work and, oh, wait, there's nothing for me here for free.
Yeah, well, because they're so close to the other 2, it might be that, because like when I went in there, they were plenty busy, and they might not have wanted, because it's a big crowd. It's really big, and that store is, it's a comic book store. It's kind of
so cramped. We shouldn't be announcing it to the internet that apparently they are a part of Free Comic Book Day, but secretly only for those in the know.
I mean, Victoria is great because there's and right across the street, or kitty corner, I guess, is Cherry Bomb Toys in Victoria.
Oh, yes,
which this year was also participating, and so there was
very nice.
4 locations within 1 block of each other.
If you got a good throwing arm, it's literally within a stone's throw of each other.
Yeah, and also the library was participating.
Oh, groovy.
So yeah,
I parked underneath the library, but we never went there. Although when we were leaving, we did see people dressed up as Superman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so Zoe managed to wave to them, oh, yay.
Yeah,
Look, the Flash, because she watches them, on the TV every week.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's the Flash, Spider-Man. They waved back. It was nice. She dug it. So, what caught your eye for the comics that you've read for this free comic book day?
Okay, well, what caught my... I haven't even got to all of them yet. Let's see.
See, I made sure to read them this morning, man. I got up, had myself some breakfast, went back to bed with all my comics, and did some reading.
So, yeah, actually...
The way it was meant to be done.
This Captain Canuck comic is from last year, actually. So.
I got this year's Captain Canuck, and it was, I think, at least just as awesome. It was a very good comic this year. I think the downside to maybe Captain Canuck is its focus, is that it's, Canadian. So I don't know if they're really going to be trying to sell issues outside of Canada.
Okay.
But that's not bad, because I've been told Canada buys as much comics every month as America does. We have 1/10 the population, but we buy the same amount of comics.
Yeah.
So not a bad niche market to be targeting. It's just that, if you want to read someone as awesome as Captain Canuck, because he does some amazingly, like over-the-top sort of things sometimes. And it's like, well, I want to read on this. I want to read about awesome. It's like, well, congratulations. You're in America. You don't get to read Captain Canuck. Yankee.
Yeah. You only have Captain America, which is a cheap rip-off of Captain Canuck.
No, he actually did come first. Although it is a newer Captain America than, the original Captain America.
Okay.
Steve Rogers has lost the serum in his blood and is retired from excessive age. Apparently he's in the same retirement home as the actual Nick Fury. For the longest time, everyone thought Nick Fury, the original Nick Fury, the one who looked like David Hasselhoff. On purpose, he looked like David Hasselhoff. That was actually meant to be done that way.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah.
Part of the lore.
Everyone thought, it's like, oh, he's still, kind of a strapping, young 65-year-old man. Turns out, no, he is much, much older than most people realize because he's using the life model decoys. And so it came out, no, he's effectively retired, and his son, who just happens to look like Samuel L. Jackson, and not David Hasselhoff, and has one eye missing as well, is taking up the reins. So, apparently, the original Nick Fury, as well as Captain America, have gone off to retirement somewhere.
Okay, yeah, well, it makes sense with really old characters that have been, I should say, characters that
legacy
have been around
characters,
a long time,
sort of thing is what the term is for people that the Flash. Which Flash is it? And it's like, well, there's been several Flashes throughout the years. Someone drops the mantle, someone picks up the mantle. Whereas you've got the perennial characters where it's like it's always been the one Superman. So I think they're deciding to try and work with a bit more of a legacy character style over in Marvel. Which I think has its advantages, because some of these characters are tied to World War II, and every year their history gets stretched out a little bit more, and a little bit more. And that's okay for people like Wolverine. It's like, oh boy, I've got a regeneration factor. I don't age, so I can be in World War II stabbing people with a knife, and people have to remember me both as maniac style. So, you can get away with that because, prolonged life. But when, it's like a regular person with not, like enhanced regeneration superpowers or anything like that, it does kind of stretch them out a little bit more every year. As opposed to people like Spider-Man who got his superpowers 7 years ago or so. In which case, how long ago is 7 years ago? Well, what year is it now? I'd work it back that way. It's a sliding history, which works for most. Mm-hmm. So, anything else catch the eye this year?
Well, let me see. I think probably the other thing that caught my eye was Super Dinosaur, just because it's so wacky. Super Dinosaur, the comic.
It is nice to see comics that don't take themselves too seriously and like to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. So basically it's got a Tyrannosaurus on the front of it with robot, because Tyrannosaurus have tiny little arms, so it has robot arms with little
cyborg
controls
arms
that it can use to punch people, I guess. I don't know why a Tyrannosaurus would have to punch people.
Sometimes you don't want to bite people. Whenever a Tyrannosaurus bites a person, they have to taste that. There are some things you don't want to taste.
Personally, I wouldn't bite people, but maybe if I was a Tyrannosaurus with a giant mouth, I might.
Oh, doesn't that make it even more likely to not want to bite just indiscriminately?
Possibly, yeah. I've never been a Tyrannosaurus, so.
Don't worry. We work in the realm of fiction. You can become one. We'll find stats for it in 3rd edition D&D. We can have you be a T-Rex.
Actually, yeah, I should, in Jurassic Park. No, in The Simpsons video game for Sega Genesis.
Oh, way back in the day.
Me and my brother had. You played as Bart as a dinosaur. So
yes, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, the Bartosaurus.
Yeah, although I don't think he was a Tyrannosaurus. He was more like he was kind of a skinny dinosaur.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. But yeah, I remember that. And it was Lisa as Mothra and Homer as King Kong, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think that might have been a different level.
Oh. Might be a continuation.
Or even that might have been, I don't know, did you have the Genesis version or the Super Nintendo version? Because they could have been...
I recall many versions throughout the years. I might have been thinking about a later generation one.
It could be even a different
As I close my eyes and get the mindscape in there, it seems to be a higher resolution than I do believe Genesis usually called for.
Right.
So, okay, I'm probably wrong on that one. But yeah, so you enjoyed the fun ones. The best one I found this year happened to be an unpictured one. It wasn't, like on the front. I got to one Nickelodeon's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, more of that. Okay.
And
are you a fan of the show, by the way?
I liked it. I found it to be really high quality, really good work. I watched it with my wife. She really liked it.
Of course, not the movie though. We don't like the movie.
The movie, the set pieces for the movie were magnificent. I don't think Shyamalan got it. I think he watched it and saw that people enjoy it, but he didn't see what they were enjoying quite the same way. And then there was some casting issues going on about, like race and all that stuff. Well, that's another issue for another day. I found the story to be fairly good. The artwork wasn't up to the same level of quality as the cartoon series was, but it's free, right? So
Yeah.
Of course, mind you, I got a chance to see like the TV series for free too, because I had Nickelodeon at the time. I got a chance to watch an episode every time I come home from work, and that was kind of nice. The story was nice. It expanded on some of the stuff mentioned in the series, so it wasn't like just coming out completely out of left field. In the middle, there's a Plants vs. Zombies story I read, but I don't think I'll ever really care about. So it's like, yeah. But what really got my eye was just a little mention about Bandette. She is by all appearances, a young thief in France who has style just out the wazoo. She is so full of style and panache. I don't care that she's a thief, that she steals stuff. I like her, I respect her, I want to read more of her.
Okay.
Like she's being attacked by two assassins, called the Elegant Assassins, twins. One's got the bow and arrow, the other one's got pistols. And she's dodging and weaving, they present no threat to her. She's making phone calls while they're trying to kill her. And by the time she's done, she's like, okay, I gotta wrap this up. She goes, and now, you elegant assassins, I fear I must tap your heads. And so she clicks them, and just knocks them out. And, okay, that's it. She doesn't kill them, like, as they would try and kill her. She doesn't use their weapons against them, to make them shoot each other, one with a bow and one with bullets. She just knocks them unconscious, because she's not that kind of... She may be a thief, but she's not a killer. And, it's a very nice, fun story. I guess I won't spoil the ending for those, who haven't, but haven't read it yet. I'm sorry, I spoiled it for Josh. I didn't think he had gotten the copy because he didn't hear about it, and I wound up spoiling it for him, so I won't repeat my mistake. But I liked it so much, I either want to try and find a copy of their, I guess it's trade paperbacks. According to at the end of the little story they've got, there's 2 volumes. Presto and Steelers Keepers, or just keep my comic that I got in good condition so that when, like my daughter is old enough to read, I want to see if she likes it. Maybe get it for her so that she can enjoy a nice, like young females that she can relate to. That, the bad guys are always more fun to watch and to read. I mean, heroes reactive, villains are proactive. They do things, they go and they change the world as they see fit. But this one's got so much style and class and just general, positive energy. I think that will be a good influence. So, that was the one that really got my eye, and I found it almost a shame that it wound up being the last of a 3 comics thing. Wasn't, pictured on the front cover. Just a little, also featuring this story and Bandette. So it was like, it was kind of interesting that it caught my eye so much and so readily. But yeah, I mean, all that, I liked the storylines that they were showing me in both the DC and the Marvel. Got a copy of the Secret Wars. I'm kind of digging what they're doing. The original Secret Wars was like back in 1984 or so. A guy called the Beyonder gets a hold of all the heroes and villains he wants, and he said, let's learn about this morality because I'm outside the universe, and he pits them against each other. This one appears to be the different various Marvel realities. Like the Marvel in the mainstream comics is Marvel Universe 616, and there are at least 100,000 universes. And so apparently some of them are starting to knock into each other. Something's making them their vibrations or something knock into each other. It's also covered decently in the Marvel Avengers Alliance storyline over on the Facebook game. So you get a nice little overview of that as you fight your way through a lot of mooks. I kind of dig the concept. It looks like it's a nice way of getting the best of all their worlds together in one. Because they have the Miles Morales Spider-Man, which was also in the all-new, all-different Avengers comic I picked up, which I dug as well. It was nice seeing the new characters, how well they played. It wasn't that much of a story, so I can't say for certain, you gotta pick up this, you gotta see this. But I always like a good ensemble cast sort of thing. It brings the best of everything, and that's what I believe their new comic, mega story arc, their summer blockbuster thing is going to wind up being. Get the best of all worlds together. It's an ensemble of the universes, in this case.
Alright.
I can dig that. I'm still not sold on the DC New 52.
How long has that been out now? Or
a few years. There were two stories I remember seeing in the, Convergence storyline that they put out for issue 0. One was of what's going on with Superman. He's hiding. Lois Lane found out he's Clark Kent and wrote a story about it. Everyone knows Clark Kent is Superman.
Okay.
His powers aren't at 100%. There's something wrong going on right now. As he describes it, he feels like he's coated in a layer of plastic and can't get it off. He's not getting the energy from the sun like he used to. Okay. He can still stop a villain in a single, clap on each side of the head. So it's he's not worrying there. But he is trying to lay low and hide, and apparently in this New 52 universe, people think, he's an alien. I hate you, dang alien. How dare you try and fool us into believing, you're human, despite the fact you grew up on the planet. It's not like you came here last year. This is a guy who was born and raised on a Kansas farm. He is, for all intents and purposes to me, a Kansas farm boy. So I don't see, why people are how dare you try and fool us, alien? You only look entirely like a human and you were born and raised in the heartland of America. How dare you try and fool us all? And other people are get the heck off our planet, you dang alien, before you get us all sick with your alien diseases. It's come on, he's been here his entire life. There's probably very little chance of communicating any disease any which way. It would have happened, especially to the Kents. The good side on that, though, is he's laying low, he's being incognito, and he's meeting with Jimmy Olsen. And Jimmy Olsen is Superman's pal. That's basically how they advertised him for decades in the comics. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. I never really saw it, and I've read a lot of the old Silver Age stuff. He always seemed like some guy that was pestering Superman. He was always some sort of weird hanger-on groupie. He was number one groupie for Superman. And whenever it turned out that Lois was getting kidnapped too much, we'll kidnap Jimmy instead, because Lois is already kidnapped right now. He was like a half, half Lois Lane sort of plot thing going on there. And it never felt as though he was really Superman's pal. It was more like Superman's pet. Given that Krypto was intelligent in that era of comics and had powers, he was more independent and smarter than Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen was more of a pet to Superman than his actual pet was to him.
Okay.
This one is they're sitting down, they're eating some faux food, at a nice little spot that like mobile, stop thing and all that, and it feels like the way they're talking.
Wait,
that they actually
faux as in French faux or faux as in Vietnamese faux?
Vietnamese.
Okay. So that's real food, but
Well, if it's food coming out of a mobile van, is it really all that authentic? Maybe it's some faux.
There you go.
yeah, wordplay, hooray! But yeah, like the conversation between Jimmy Olsen and Clark Kent really does make them feel as though they are friends, and I was nice to see.
Oh, well, it's about time.
So, it had an authentic feel to it. Everything else I can toss out the window. I don't care about that. But yeah, Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen going down, have some fun to food to eat, and just chatting about it. That seems like that sounds like a friend. Because I gotta say, a lot of the Silver Age stuff, Clark interacts with Lois Lane and Perry White and Jimmy Olsen, but they didn't have the feel of friends. They were just people he worked with and then saved their lives 7 times an hour. It felt like it's just like, my goodness, you people are just so prone to getting kidnapped and killed. In which case, it feels right. Lois Lane, as outed Superman as Clark Kent, she feels bad for what she's done.
Okay, good. She should.
Probably, yeah. On the other hand, Clark Kent's really not ready to forgive her right now, sort of thing. So there's some friction going on there, sort of thing, and that feels like, oh hey, like you've betrayed my trust, and I like he didn't come out and say that, but the words, the style, the intonation, it's like you made your choice, this was it, good day, Lois. It felt so much more authentic, like a real relationship with people, other than you exist for me to save you so that we can sell more comics.
Okay. Well, who's writing this? Do you know?
I did not memorize the names.
Okay. Sorry, I'll put it in the show notes.
But I really did enjoy the interactions. They seem much more authentic than they ever have. So there's a silver lining on that new 52. Yeah. They feel like real people, not just like story devices. Oh, yay. The other one was like what else was happening on the island of Themyscira when Diana was born. Because apparently in the New 52, the story about her being made from clay is just like a cover story to hide her parentage.
Okay.
Apparently, yeah, there's like Ares may well be her biological father.
Okay.
That means things, because the Amazonians were Amazons were created to counteract the effects of Ares upon the world. And so it's like wow, that's like how can you trust her? Like she's the daughter of the enemy. Meanwhile, like on the other side of the island, another lady gives birth to what is clearly not a normal young little girl. She then proceeds to kick like her one of the friends off the cliff, sort of thing. Kill her and the midwife. Like just after she had given birth, like this, like you want to say like, oh yeah, how tough are you? It's like, yeah, I can withstand bullets. I can bench press a plane and all that. No. I can get into a fight just after giving birth to someone. That sounds, well, my goodness, that sounds like super toughness there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, this daughter is apparently the daughter of Darkseid. How he managed to, get to where he was, that, this Amazon assassin was able to, consummate such a relationship, I don't know. That was never detailed. But yeah, so I'm looking at this as like, that's a good potential antithesis for Wonder Woman. It's got a similar style, got kind of like almost like a Bizarro type, nature sort of thing. Skilled, warrior and all that, but like got dark side, god and evil powers, and I'm like, so yes, Wonder Woman, I've always said, needs a lot more for good arch villains. She's got her classics. Let's see. She has to think. I have to think about them first, right? And you say, who's Superman's arch enemy? Lex Luthor. Who's Batman's arch enemy? The Joker. You say, who's Wonder Woman's arch enemy? Not Nazis? Well, Nazis haven't been around for a while as a cohesive force. But she's got Cheetah. Depending on whether or not she's like a Moro type hybrid or just a lady in like a fuzzy leotard. It's kind of debatable. You've got, was it Giganta? I grow big and strong, but apparently I still am not big and strong enough to fight, Wonder Woman. It happens. But this one, like the other Amazon's name is Grail. So she works as a nice dark antithesis. So I'm thinking, oh, hey, yeah, this could work out well. Like another good potential for a villain for Wonder Woman. Maybe this will help out for like getting a movie deal down the road. You got to get your first movie out. You're going to have a reliable villain. One of the things I think actually hurt Ghost Rider is like, okay, wait, who's his villain? dark art. Is that an actual thing? Like, because not a lot of people know the villains, as clearly as the hero in his case. As much as they know Mephisto is like, he's the source of the power for Ghost Rider. In this case, Grail, the dark antithesis, is like, oh boy, that's a nice option. And then I see the full body shot of like her growing up, like to fight grown up Wonder Woman and all that, and I'm like, oh, you've just made like a sexy female dark side. Oh, darn it. Not that I have anything against that, and you want to wind up drawing, like a male character as a female and sexy and all that, go for it. I'm not one to tell you how you spend your artistic abilities. On the other hand, I was kind of hoping for something a little different, maybe a little, stylistic differences and not, like, so cheesecake style. So it's like, you came this close to coming up with a really awesome, good, arch villain for her. But there's still a lot of potential, so I'm hoping that will take off for some greater benefit.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am seeing some nice potential, some nice silver linings on the new 52. Not enough to sway me in the end.
To sway you, like, what is the decision that you're making? It's just to continue reading?
To even consider trying to follow the events of the storylines in the universe. I did not like how they started a lot of the characters for the new 52. Some had potential. I thought starting Raven off as a villain and then maybe having her redeem herself could work out well, but then she's got this crazy helmet, and it's like, are they even going to keep the series after all the problem that they had with Starfire appearing in there? So it's like, maybe she won't get a chance to have her heroic, redemption thing. So maybe she'll wind up accidentally staying a villain for who knows how long.
Okay.
Because the new 52's had a lot of cancellations for their titles. A lot. So it's like, oof. But I still prefer the old, somewhat weird, somewhat convoluted, multiple worlds, several different apocalypses universe of the old 52. Or I guess the old DC.
Yeah, the old. Yeah. Okay.
So, still not swayed. But I am happy to see some silver linings. So things say, I did like this. And that was the big thing for me this week for comics. Ultimately, I think it was very good stuff, and I hope a lot of people out there got enthused by at least one thing that they read and have considered, like, well, maybe I should go back down and see if they got a trade paperback. Maybe I should start picking up this stuff. The all-new Avengers seemed like a nice one for me. I like the Miss Marvel. I like the Spider-Man. Still not sold on that Nova kid, but that's just because I didn't see too much of a personality come from him. Mm-hmm. There's still a chance for him to improve in my eyes. His stock may yet rise. One of them I saw had a weird little crossover that they did. Not an official crossover, but they did a crossover for Avengers with the Attack on Titan. With the manga Attack on Titan, you got giant creepy people, like attacking and eating all sorts of regular people, and the Avengers fight them, because, whatever, they just pop up and see how would they fare, how would Avengers fare against Titans. And so that was kind of interesting. And that's the kind of nice light continuity that I prefer. It's like, oh hey, you remember that time that giant, like skinned human beings popped out of, like the river and started attacking and eating people in Manhattan? Yeah, that was weird. Good thing we stopped them. But I found a lot of fun little things this year. I hope to keep seeing that in future years. And fingers crossed, should my fortunes rise, I would definitely seek out a copy of that Bandette.
Oh yeah.
So I get a little spare cash, maybe I'll go find her. Pick up a trade paperback. That's how Free Comic Book Day is supposed to work. Get you into the comics. It's your free sample, man. It's like a drug.
Cool. Yeah. So that was Free Comic Book Day, which we had experienced. And that was almost everything I did as far as simulations. So.
That's still a wide variety of different types of simulations. You got your traditional superhero, you got your fantasy. I guess Avatar counts as like fantasy period sort of thing. It's like it's not Western fantasy, but more of a like an Asiatic fantasy world.
Yeah. I would definitely say Avatar is fantasy. It has a little bit of modern tech in the Fire Nation, but
there's no anachronisms in like the D&D universe.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I think Elminster had a gun at one point.
Did he?
Yeah, he apparently went to Earth.
Huh.
Yeah, he has access to firearms. Not only is he an epic levels wizard that seduces or is like in a relationship or whatever with the goddess of magic, he also has access to firearms. Wow, that's overpowered, man, even by my standards.
Should we just any other simulations that you did? Should we cover?
I did two other things of note this week.
Okay.
I had a little bit of spare time as things went and all that. I went to the Nether. Finally got around to going to the Nether.
Finally in Minecraft.
I go through the portal and I'm promptly attacked by a ghast, shooting fireballs at me. Before the screen even loads properly, there's a blast around me. It's like, So needless to say, I collected up the blocks I could and kept knocking back the stuff. I got the achievement for, return to sender right quick. And knock it back, killed off the thing.
Nice, good.
Ultimately, I am not a fan of the Nether.
A fan of the Nether. No, it's not fun enough.
As a builder, it has all the perils of trying to work at night and no daytime.
Right.
The ghasts have a sound that doesn't mitigate through distance, so you can't tell if it's like just behind you or 100 blocks away, and that's kind of annoying. And they also sound like my daughter when she's whining. I'm not happy about that either. I play these games to get away from my whining daughter.
Right.
So, yeah. On the other hand, no creepers. But the ghast kind of acts as a ranged creeper.
Yeah.
When creepers blow up, they're done. That ghast keeps shooting fireballs at you.
That's yeah.
And mind you, I am playing in the 1.7.10 version. In the 1.8 versions that they've got, I think the third 1.83 they're up to now?
Okay.
Or 4.
I can't remember now. Yeah.
They're up to 3 or 4. Apparently they've changed it so that a ghast won't attack you until it's almost vertically level with you now. Mm-hmm. But I'm in the old version where they'll shoot at you from any direction. So it's like,
Yeah.
I am trying to create a nice safety zone out of nether block, but it's taking so long to smelt the stuff into, like the nether rack into nether blocks, or nether rack to brick to block. Mm-hmm. And it's like a 4-to-1 ratio, and it's like, this is taking me so long.
Yeah.
I have gotten some of the ores. I've got like 3 stacks of nether quartz, which I need for some of my my magical stuff and for my mods.
Yeah.
As well as some interesting, nice stuff to create better versions of torches. Mystical lantern, which will keep an area within 40 squares lit up properly. So that'll be nice to get that in finally. Otherwise, it's like I got a few ores of this, a few ores of that. I'm digging the pigmen. They seem cool people. I'm not angry with them. If I find one on the overworld version where I've got my portal underneath my temple, I don't think I'll kill them. I'll just let them hang out. It's good.
Yeah, it's all good. You could even, do you have name tags? You
I have gotten 2 name tags from fishing. But now that I've got some nether quartz, I can make a Gollemancer spell, and I can actually really get involved into, Gollemancy.
Okay.
So, I've got, you've seen my little tower for vertical farming.
Well, I have. I don't know if our listeners have.
It's just a simple area
we should
for
post some screenshots at some point.
I like the visual style of it, but it's just like vertical farm. Stack up. Okay, there's some area for there, and stack up until you've got all the crops I need. But what I could do now is get some, straw golems, and I could have them plant and do the other stuff for me, and actually tend to my gardens 24/7.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I could I have no need for that much food resources, but I could do it. Daggone it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might wind up getting to that now that I've got the resources to get the Gollemancer's Bell, which allows me to say, hey, do this on these blocks here, and I can pick you up properly. Because right now I've got a wood golem just standing offside that I accidentally clicked down the wrong way, and I can't pick up properly. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, I can finally pick them up and put them to some sort of use.
Very good.
In the other bit of fiction this week, I finished the first part of the story arc for The Secret World.
Oh, yes.
I have finished Solomon Island. I have technically gotten back in the good graces with my superior, because I was feeling really bad the other week about, oh my goodness, she was dropping F-bombs on me for how bad my job was. Oh my goodness. Right. I had a big choice to make at the end of it. I get shunted off to a spot that's outside of known reality. Like, I do a Google, thing afterwards on this and see what the other factions say. I am outside of the models for the Dragon's universe. The Dragon, they take Chaos and they get all the information they can, and they've got a statistical model of the universe which is accurate to a very scary degree in most regards.
Okay, yeah.
Wherever you went in this part of the story, you are outside of the model.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a spooky thing to
So,
think
like,
about.
another dimension, or they even map other dimensions?
They have other dimensions mapped. I've been keeping track of stuff in the various, quests I've been on. There's Dimension B, which is just like an alternate dimension that gets referenced. Gas and other specters are apparently part of the drowned world, which is why it looks like they're all underwater and all wavy and all that.
Okay.
And there's there's various mentions of things happening between other worlds. Hell is apparently its own dimension sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Wherever I am, it is not in the models. It is outside of anything the Dragon knows of.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a voice talking to me saying, "You're awesome. You're how great you are. Oh, I want to know more about you. I can give you a lot of power." Not just some people choose, there's some examples to show. Some people choose to get power in art and influence the hearts and minds of others. But that is not true power. And it's got some works of Percy by Shelley. And it's other people, choose, money, which is just a shadow of actual power. Which is okay, I guess that's actually a fairly nice for money isn't actually power, but it's, what power... It's like a denomination for power, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And it's got a nice bit of Xanadu from, the Citizen Kane stuff. And it's okay, so in the end, I go to the spot, and it's do I take the present it gives me? It says, I can give you all sorts of power. You can be a new god. All you have to do is everything I say. And I'm well, the thing is, do I click on the present, a wonderfully wrapped present, or do I walk off the side of a cliff? And in the end, because the character I'm playing is modeled after my wife, it's no, my wife is a very moral person.
Oh, yeah.
And I am very reasonably certain.
Did you consult her before you took
No, but I was thinking, what would my wife do? And she's in my head, my wife's you would probably not accept, a gift of power from a mysterious voice. Get thee behind me, Satan, sort of thing. So I was okay. So I jumped off the side of the cliff. He's bah, run! You cannot escape the end of days. And so he's kind of angry. And I think I made the right choice.
Well, if you, is that a suicide jump? Or is that just
No, I popped back into conventional reality.
Yeah, so it's just an escape.
Escaping jump. Apparently, though, I did a Google search to see, and what's the choice sort of thing, what does that make? Apparently you get a huge amount of experience, which gets you all sorts of points and all that stuff. So it's kind of a fast track. That said, a lot of people regret the decision, even though it hasn't really come into play. It's the sort of game where your character has character, not just I am, the autonomous robot that goes through quests and all that stuff. It's no. They feel bad. I didn't know I could walk off the cliff. I accidentally clicked the package thinking I could, get a chance to refuse it, and I get automatically accepted. Whoops.
Yeah.
So it's haha, I made the right choice by, I'm back into real reality. So hooray. That was kind of nice. I have been thinking about that sort of thing a lot, though, since it happened. The choice, you got a big choice here. Do you accept the gift of the mysterious stranger who, is, I don't want you to be, trapped by the mindset of your limited, faction that you're a part of. They're all limited, small, petty-minded. I want you to be something greater. And so his words were very honey-coated, I will say that. I felt as though it did want to have my best interests at heart. And then there's visions of other people that have been there before me going through there, and one person jumps off the side of a cliff. That's how they had to add that in after the gameplay originally started, because people didn't know you could jump off so well, and so we have to show an NPC doing that, and another NPC accepting it. And I think I definitely made the right choice, because the NPC, phantom image that accepted it was, get away from me, get the hell away from me, because they swear in this, man. This is European. So it's okay, maybe I really did make the right decision.
If the game is giving you, telegraphing it that much, though, it's ooh, take this gift. It's not going to like scramble your brain or anything like it did to all these other guys.
Well, that's the thing is you only see two people in with this. One person who refuses the gift, one person who accepts it. And the guy goes, ah! So it sounds like he's falling to his death. And this is apparently like the Amundsen expedition to the wherever it was in like the Arctic.
The Norwegian guys going to the South Pole, North Pole?
One of the poles, and like,
maybe
they're never seen again, sort of thing. So it's like, wow, I guess that, like you used to read the papers, like, this is the Amundsen guy, and like, he jumped off the side, and that was it for him. Oh, leap of faith, man, leap of faith. I made it, and I think I came out the better for it. I think I came out the better for it.
Well, at least you got to keep playing the game.
Yeah, boy, can you imagine if that was a hardcore game? It's like, oh, congratulations, you committed suicide. Like the ending of the original Legacy of Kain. You get the chance to, either commit suicide and redeem the final pillar of Nosgoth and restore purity to the land, or rule over it as a corrupt leader. And it's like, you choose the good one, which I chose the first time on that one too. It's like, in life he was insignificant. In undeath, he was unknown, and in true death he was forgotten. But he redeemed the land. Turns out that in the long run that actually spells doom for the land. But that doesn't come into play until like the third or fourth series. In
the secret world, though, in this game, is it like every other video game where you sort of die and come back, like you have lives and stuff, or how does that work?
Well, that's the thing, is it actually becomes a plot point with the main villain in this story, which I am still very deeply believing it was Loki from the Asgardian mythologies.
Okay.
He's got the MacGuffin sword of power, and the sword can smite you pretty darn good. And he says, I could, spend the time crushing you beneath my heel, but those damn bees would just whisk you away to safety.
Oh, a bee goes in your mouth and turns you immortal.
Well, not
however that works.
Well, actually, as it turns out, you're not actually immortal. It just takes a lot of effort to really kill you. It's kind of like atomization sort of thing will get rid of you, but actual just regular killing ain't gonna kill you. So
regular killing.
Regular killing ain't gonna take you. You are like mortal plus. You're not immortal, but you're doing better than the average person.
Okay.
I know you don't take falling damage. I've jumped off some pretty high heights and not taken a single point damage.
So you shouldn't. So when that cliff scene comes up, you should not be fearing that because your character.
I always fear jumping off. Plus, you can't see any bottom at all. I recall being stuck in the game for about 5 minutes by making a jump and getting lodged somewhere, and I couldn't move because I was in the air, but I wouldn't land because I got stuck in. It turns out they have a thing for that. If you're in the air for X amount of time, just pop you out nearby to a coordinate where you can land properly.
Okay. Yeah.
So hey, it's nice to see a game company that actually thinks that one through. Apparently, for a long time in World of Warcraft, you could fall through the earth and just fall for a long time before they just said, "No, what? You're dead." All your gear takes a penalty. You're gonna cost you money to resurrect because it was our fault and we didn't cover everything with cellophane. You fell through the world. No, this was actually, okay, something seems to be up. You're in the air for too long. We'll just pop you out here and make sure, hey, no harm, no foul, right? There you go. So I kind of dig that. That was nice. I don't know if that's all AI or if there's some sort of alert for their moderators. It's like, hey, this person's been in the air for a long time, and they go over and check you out. Oh, hey, they're stuck. There we go. Now he's fixed. But whatever it is, it works, and I'm happy for that. But it was still a pretty big leap of faith.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because if I am ever confronted with a cliff with no bottom, I guess, what could be at the bottom? If I'm, semi-immortal, like you're saying, what could be at the bottom that I would be afraid of? If it's just rocks,
What if there isn't a bottom? This was a sort of starscape around there.
Yeah, but there's atmosphere, and there's gravity, so the gravity must go somewhere.
It could just wind up being momentum. Sort of thing. Once you're past a certain point, you're just going on continual momentum. But it has a starscape where you got a planet and an asteroid, line of rocks going by, and it's not outer space. I believe they call it the far outer whatever it is, different area. But it's not normal thing, and if you get whisked away too far from the Earth, you're not part of Gaia. Where's the bees to bring you back? There are no bees in space. So conceptually, you could have done it. But in the end, I mean, like, how's the old saying go? Your true character is what happens when the lights are off.
Is it?
when what you do doesn't matter to anyone else because there's no one else to see it. What you do, like when there's no repercussions, that's who you truly are. You are truly the person that that is the choices you make when you can't be held accountable for anything. And I was apparently outside the model of the universe. If I had agreed to this voice, the Illuminati would not have known I had a secret extra alliance besides them.
Yeah.
The dragons would have never seen it in their models. The Templar could have never known I was a Judas in their midst.
Okay.
So, like, the choice I made there, that was a true choice. That was a true test of the character.
Well, okay, two things. You're saying they're never going to find out. Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, we're talking
I was outside
here.
the theoretical models of the Dragon's universe. I don't know where I was, but that was somewhere pretty secret or pretty far out.
Well, you're outside currently, but as soon as he starts, whatever this entity is, starts interacting with your and the dragon's world,
there is evidence that they have been interacting. It might be considered the filth, the big bad of the meta plot arcs.
Yeah, okay, so this is the big bad guy. So the dragons, I think they're going to start piecing it together, even if they haven't by now. Which does seem odd, admittedly, because they know so many other things.
They know about previous versions of reality. I mean, the dragon as a society didn't begin with this reality. They began in the previous iteration of reality. That's pretty far back. No wonder their models are so well detailed.
So I find it hard to believe that this isn't going to come to light at some point for all three of the organizations.
Well, that's the thing is, from what I saw for issue 11, it's like, oh, hey, and like the choices you've made finally come back to for definite conclusions. Don't know if that was on some of the previous editions or goes all the way back to like day one launch, but I'll have to play to find out.
Yeah, but the other thing is I think that. The first point I was making is very hard to separate an individual person from their surroundings because we're sort of permeated by our culture and stuff. But also I was thinking, at that point, it doesn't actually tell you anything about your true character. Because you're not really, if you're separated from society or whatever, the choice you make when nobody's watching, that seems like it wouldn't tell you anything about your character. I don't know. That's just an alternate. That's how But it's still cool.
Let's take the concept of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Still two different choices, no matter how you go about it. And let's face it, given the fact that you're either going for either the big bad or, like, cheesing the big bad off, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, well, there's something fun about the lesser of two evils, or what you would consider the lesser of the two evils. Like,
I'm part of the Illuminati. I think technically we're supposed to go with the more profitable of the two evils. In which case, the experience points were a very big lure.
Yeah, but you didn't know those were coming, right?
After I made the decision, I did Google up to see, like, okay, let's not ruin things up here. It's like, okay, apparently you get like 17 million experience points. Like, wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot.
I think you should have taken the gift, the present.
Well, I guess I'll have to get my alternate character up, go through the whole thing. Maybe try a bit more of a speedrun without clearing out all the zones first. Doing it a little bit more focused on the main storyline.
Okay. Sure.
And then going through it and making the choice. But my alternate character is based physically off of me. That would mean my wife winds up taking the good choice and I wind up damning myself. Harsh.
Yeah, you keep saying damning yourself, but I think either, like you were saying, either choice is kind of, there's no right answer.
Welcome to the secret world. There's only bad answers.
I think that's intentionally part of the game design, is that they don't want you to necessarily think that you made the right choice.
Well, that's the thing. There is no moral secret society. Yeah. The Illuminati is largely about trying to escape responsibility while getting the maximum amount of profits. The dragon is about manipulating reality so that they always come out on top. And the Templar, well, they say they're on trying to save humanity as a whole. They will destroy a town to kill a demon. Yeah.
And my favorite was the dragon because I feel like they're kind of almost like scientists because they're like, they're all about figuring out models for reality and how everything fits together. So they're about knowledge and the search for knowledge.
And getting order out of chaos.
Yeah, and using it to your advantage and make things work how you want it to. Yeah.
So in the end, I guess, damned if you do either which way. The choice that you decided to make for whichever faction you're a part of, that's the choice that doesn't matter but defines who you are.
Yeah. And I suppose, like, in fantasy literature, there are examples of, like, the guy who quests for knowledge that goes too far, or, the person...
Oh, yeah, I mean, just try reading a Lovecraft story that doesn't involve that trope. That's,
yeah.
That was kind of his bread and butter, man.
Yeah.
But, in the end, I found it to be very enjoyable, very, like, I had to sit and, just think, like...
You paused the game, or?
I moved myself far enough so that I couldn't accidentally click the box or thing,
I love it, yeah.
So I just walked back enough, and then I just sit there thinking, the voice does seem to like me, and then want to give me things, it seems interesting to me, but those could be very honeyed words. I'm already in deep with a secret society that could probably have me killed if they even suspect I'm trying to betray them. Sit and just think and just stare at the wonderful landscape, or spacescape, I suppose, going in front of me as I think, should I take their gift? No one except me and the voice would know. But in the end, I made my choice, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. Oh, and I should point out, well, I guess with supernatural entities, you never know. But technically, the offer that the voice is giving you, it's, it wouldn't hold up in court, for example. So you can look in the present or whatever, and that doesn't necessarily mean you agree to their terms. But of course, if they're so powerful, then they can probably force that, and courts can't really say much about it.
Was the thing, the power the voice was promising was beyond stuff such as temporal, like legal court.
Yeah.
This was the power that goes beyond, like money, that goes beyond, having people follow you, goes beyond being able to change the hearts and minds of others. This is true power they were offering. The power to not be beholden to others except them. So that's a pretty big power they're talking about. This was something I had to stop for a second and wrap my head around, as they're showing me this is what some people want, but that's not true power that I'm promising you. This is just an illusion of power, or this is just a false imitation, what some people think is power, but it's not real power, not the power I'm offering you. So it's like whoa. Wow, the power to just not have to care who cares about you. You're beyond that. It's like, wow, that's deep power, man. That's deep power. So yeah, that's one of the things I really do like about it, is it stopped and made me think. It stopped and made me question the decisions I'm about to make.
Oh, sounds like a fun game.
And the best part is you don't have to pay $15 a month for it. Although the extra episodes and all that, the issues that they've got, charge a little bit here and there.
Okay.
That said, I mean, I get the spare cash. That's another thing I want to wind up spending money on. Is I want this stuff. I want these added storylines. I want to figure out what's going on more here. I want to experience more. I want to drink deeply from this cup, man.
Okay, well, sounds good.
So yeah, that was my week. My big decisions and my things that didn't actually make any consequence because they never really happened in the strictest sense of our reality.
Of course.
But that said, I mean, there was one reoccurring theme that kept popping in this week, and let it not be said, I can't see a pattern when it starts to develop.
All right.
Maybe I'm part of the dragon that way. I see the patterns in chaos.
Yeah.
I'm reading the Spider-Man stuff up, and so I decided to go. I'm reading up on Spider-Man and all the different Spider-Men, and of course it gets into the Clone Saga. And it seems like, from what I'm reading, like whenever one of the Spider-Man, which the real or the clone one, whichever one it seems like is like being declared the clone for the parts of it, they'd stop what they're doing and tell them, I'm not a real person, I'm just a clone. And while everyone else was saying, like, no, you're a sentient human being, you have just as much right as everyone else, and it doesn't matter when you started, as long as you are who you are, and that's what really determines it. Mm-hmm. And so I was reading through that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. Well, that's kind of like Peter Parker's thing, I think Peter Parker struggles with depression sometimes.
Yes, self-doubt and stuff.
Self-doubt and depression, that seems to be his cross to bear. And then, look, you got cards for part of Free Comic Book Day. I don't know, how did you get free comic book cards, apparently, too? because you're showing me there, and what's at the top of the pile? That's not Will Riker, despite the fact it looks like him. That's Tom Riker, the copied version of him that they had in a few episodes. Long story short, transporter malfunction. He beamed up to the surface as well as did not beam up to the surface. And so, like, one of him got stuck down in the middle of nowhere for, like, was it 8 years? Something like that?
Yeah, he got duplicated in the transporter, and yeah, one version went up, one version stayed behind.
And so, yeah, he calls himself Thomas William Riker instead of, William Thomas Riker.
Yeah.
So,
well, once he finds out, because the one who stayed on the planet thought that
he was I don't know why they never came back for me, but the storms must be too bad.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just make do for a living here. But yeah, once he finds out, the other guy's lived a life. I've been isolated from his, my life for 8 years, and he's lived it. So I guess he's got more claim to his life than I do, or he's got more claim to my life than I do at that point. So he changes his name to Thomas William Riker, Tom Riker.
Yeah. Does the Federation have, I can't remember what happened in that episode. Maybe they didn't even deal with it. But you'd think the Federation would have, legal protocols in place in case a person got, duplicated in that way.
Well, you'd think with the amount of transporter malfunctions they have, that would have come up at some sort of, legal hearing or something. But, no, the Federation is actually incredibly poor on giving rights to people under different unique circumstances.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it was a fight basically just to get Data rights.
Yeah, Data had to fight for rights to not be a person. The Doctor had, and all the other Doctors for the Mark 1 emergency medical hologram from Voyager series had, most of them got repurposed for digging in, gas-infested mines. Sort of thing. It's it's too dangerous for people that breathe when we've got these personalities here, and they weren't well received by the people. They're too much of a hothead, and so put them in the mines. They don't qualify as people, despite the fact they're sentient to some degree. There's one point where the Doctor had to qualify himself as because the guy who he was trying to get a book written, not exactly the best book, but the guy took it and hey, you don't have any rights. And the Doctor had to fight for the rights to have his own, right for the stuff he's created. He's created a work of art, but he has no rights himself. So he has to fight for it in a court of law. Which was interesting to think about. But yeah, there are surprisingly little rights. Then again, they did have a bad history with, genetic engineering, so I guess clones are, a complete no-go, and they don't even want to deal with it. Something in the history, apparently during their World War III with Khan, just sent such a horrible shock into the human psyche.
The Clone Wars, or
no, the Clone Wars is Star Wars, not
the
Star
Eugenics
Trek.
Wars.
Yeah, the Eugenics Wars,
which happened in the 1990s.
Yeah, whether it was a secret war or just a different timeline than ours, whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently it sent such a mental shock into the state of humanity that it infested itself into the Federation as a whole, and they don't even bother to contemplate laws on such a thing. So I don't know, it must have been a pretty... I have a hard time mentioning it was a secret war if it's impacted the mentality of humanity and everybody they touched so badly. But there you go. But yeah, that was the thing that kept cropping up. Spider-Man with clones, Tom Riker with clones, and then I was thinking about trying to do a same sort of campaign in the Tri-Stat system. I haven't done a tabletop Tri-Stat, so I'm thinking, I'll try a Secret World sort of campaign, and what do I come up with for a way to get people to come back from the dead? Well, they already use reincarnating bees or something like that, so I guess I'll just come up with cloning vats. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it occurs to me, it's as long as you have a memory, of yourself put into the body, I guess it doesn't matter, if you're a clone or not, because, you're you, your memories are you, and,
What kind of body?
I guess it could be any person's body. It doesn't actually even need to be your body.
Robot body?
If you want it to be a robot body, you can make that work. You could be a robot, but it was basically just going to be a cloning thing. Craft a clone, that way you get past all, the sensors in the airports, and nobody has to worry about, why did, everything bounce off you when it should go into your fleshy human skin. But for me, the whole concept of a clone with their lack of human rights that they seem to have all over fiction, it doesn't ring for me. It's well, why wouldn't they have rights? So so long as they've got like sentience, they should qualify at least as a full person, and like even like a brain dead clone should still have the same rights as a brain dead naturally born human being. It happens. There's things that prevent the human brainstem from connecting up, and sadly a baby is born brain dead.
Well,
still has all the same rights as a regular human being.
I don't think it does.
It's a comatose person in that case.
Okay, yeah, that's different. Yeah.
You can't just chuck it in the garbage. I mean, that's the kind of attitude they seem to have for a lot of clones in fiction. It's like, oh, you're not a real person. I'll just dispose you. You don't even get a funeral. I'll just dump you in the liquefactor, so we'll use your chemical makeup to make more clones. Well, there's your reincarnation, clone buddy.
Well, yeah, because in science fiction, in science fact, a clone is just like a twin. It has to be gestated and born and raised just like anybody else. In science fiction, you
can do quick clones. The term is frequently used.
Clone is probably not even the right word, because it's more like a doppelganger or a duplicate, really. That's the kind of thing it is.
And that's the thing, is the first term for robots ever used was RUR Industries that they did. They were not robots as we currently define them. They were more of the cloned artificial humanoids.
What do you in fiction or science fiction?
In the first instance of the use of the word robot for the short story.
Well, robot is a Slavic word for slave, or yeah.
Basically, yeah, but they weren't robot as you and I know robots now. They were not like machines in a human form or anything like that. They were effectively cloned artificial humanoids.
Okay.
They were the clone sort of thing, and so. The whole thing is it's just really oddly muddled as to where people decide to mark, what's, considered to be a robot and what's considered to be human. How small does the machinery have to get?
Yeah.
It goes crazy sometimes. There's no proper terminology for it designed up for the whole thing.
Well, I think part of this comes from the fact that you own your body, and you get to say what can be done with your body.
To a point. You're not allowed to sell your body, otherwise prostitution would be legal.
Well, it is in some countries.
It is in Canada, technically, too, but we got a decent American audience, and a lot of parental perspectives no, you can't do that all wherever you want. Yeah.
If you're planning on doing prostitution, check your local bylaws and just...
Oh, definitely, yes.
No, but what I'm saying is, in the modern era, our time, we do value individuals, but we also say that...
You have the right to say no to whatever inoculations against diseases you may want.
Although that might change in the near future, but just because herd immunity is so important that it might be deemed a public good. But in any case...
you have to get an excuse to say no. A real excuse, not just a needle scare me excuse.
Yeah, it has to endanger you somehow, or
compromised immune system. Real threats, medical real threats. Yeah.
So because we own our bodies and we get to say what's done with them, if this fully formed adult body were just instantly duplicated, and now you have two bodies, technically those would both belong to the same person, although I guess they don't. But you get this idea that, if I had a clone, we would...
So even if the brain stuff gets copied, you still own your clone?
Well, I don't know. Probably how it would have to work is there would be almost considered a legal extra person who is the real you, but doesn't exist anywhere in physical reality, but is considered to somehow own both versions of you. And then that person, presumably, before the clone gets made, you get to make that decision. Okay, how am I going to go about this and make decisions about my clones? But basically, this is why people, they think. Because this is what you're talking about. The weird thing is when you have a clone, you think, I get to tell him what to do, and I get to control him.
But that's the thing. I don't think that way. I mean, that's like slavery. No, that's not like slavery. That is slavery.
Yeah.
It's just self-slavery in a weird sense.
But you don't nobody complains that I feel like tattooing myself, or I feel I'm going to punch my other hand. I'm allowed to do that to my hand, but my hand,
You can scratch yourself until it bleeds. if that's what you so desire.
If you really
your
wanted
body.
to, yeah.
Well, sometimes when you take off the socks, when you got like a really tight pair of socks and you scratch, oh, it feels so good. And you just want to keep scratching until it's like, whoa, actually it's kind of raw. Maybe I should stop, but it feels so good. So it's like, okay, no, stop before it bleeds. But if you want to, you could keep scratching until it bled. Yeah. You could do that. It's your body.
And depending what country you're from, you're allowed to alter your brain with
chemicals
and alcohol in our country, but in other countries it might be something else that you could put in your brain.
Alcohol's a chemical.
Yeah. It's one of the periodic. No, it's not.
No.
It's not an element. Alcoholium.
It's one of the noble liquids. Boozeium.
But yeah, so I was thinking like, oh, maybe the brain is a distinction because you're allowed to do whatever you want to your body, but like maybe your brain is sacred, and so if there were two brains, then that other brain is sacred. But you're still allowed to abuse your brain in certain ways, not in every way, but because certain drugs are not allowed. But
well, I mean, you want to go, bonk your head against the wall, just make sure that it's not disturbing the neighbors, and that's about all the requirement you need. I mean, here in Canada, I mean, you can't go into a mental hospital without your own permission. So, I mean, you can crack your head until you get some pretty nasty brain damage, and as long as you keep saying no, they can't toss you away for your own health and safety.
Huh, yeah.
That's kind of weird, but very liberal, so I'm okay with that. But it's like, yeah, you can really abuse your brain if you so desire.
And I mean, there's boxing. Like, boxing has been on all our minds recently.
Oh, yeah, Manny Pacquiao versus Money Mayweather.
Yeah, just because that happened.
I saw parts of that fight. Pacquiao should have won those fights. He was landing. Oh, my gosh.
I don't even know who's who, so...
Manny Pacquiao was the shorter one.
Okay.
But yeah, there were some blows I saw him hit on Moneyweather. Oof. It was just like, if he had gotten one more instant shot in, it would have been over by the fourth round. Like, he was knocking Mayweather down a lot harder.
Okay. But that's something you can go into voluntarily, and you don't hit yourself, but you're basically going into a situation
you're
where
getting paid to get brain damage.
Yeah. So you can voluntarily subject your own self to that.
Which, by the way, is apparently why boxing is on the decline these days. It's getting harder and harder to find people willing to suffer brain damage for money.
Yeah, I would think so. And
by the way, I'm not usually one for violence in sports, but when your sport is violence, I'm all for it. So boxing is like, yeah, punch him harder. Yeah, get him in the head. So, that's where I stand. I mean, I'm not normally a pro-violence kind of guy. I don't support violence in hockey, but, I mean, that's because violence isn't supposed to be the sport of hockey. Boxing, that's the sport. It is violence.
There's also this idea with, like, people when they have kids, and this doesn't...
I own you until you turn 18.
It's kind of like...
And when you're 17, I'll know the end is coming, and I'll work you even harder.
I think it's more about the guys who fantasize about having kids. Like, oh, I'm going to have a baseball team, and I'm going to make them do this and that, and they're all going to, and they're all going to work. And this used to happen back in the farming days. They would, we need more help on the farm. Well, we'll have another kid.
Exploitation begins at home.
Which was normal and kind of accepted. And
mind you, they didn't have, much for television then either. So, I mean, kids have gone to bed. What are we going to do there? Wifey? Well, television doesn't exist. Let's procreate.
Make some more kids.
Maybe books should have been cheaper in the history and there wouldn't have been so many larger families. It's like, well, we could have sex, but this is a really good part of the book. Maybe we can hold off till I'm done. Just a thought.
So there's a little bit of that owning of other people can sort of be like, well, you kind of do, like, they are your own flesh and blood, so kind of like you get to decide with that.
I get to make a lot of choices with my daughter's life and health and well-being and all that. But I would certainly never consider her to be expendable the same way people just say, like okay, whatever, it's pretty dangerous. We'll send in a half dozen clones. If they survive, all right. If they don't, I don't know, maybe we'll just bombard the whole place from orbit.
Well, I wonder this too, like, the reason why we value human life is because it's difficult to replace. I mean, it takes a lot of work to raise a kid up to adulthood. I mean, and that's what people don't talk about. Oh, send in cloned children. Like, people don't talk about that. They're like, no, we'll clone some adults who can actually...
just as a satire to show how horrible it is to reference clones as being so expendable. You just send in kids.
Yeah. But presumably, like in this, future world where we have access to unlimited energy, which allows us to instantaneously duplicate a person, never mind cloning, like you just pop them out of a machine, like one after every time you push a button.
Yeah.
Like an assembly line of people coming out of it.
You just cross-combine a 3D printer with a Xerox machine. Make it human-sized and go.
And in some ways, the only reason why we value human life so much, why we have this sacredness attached to it, is simply because it's so valuable and hard to.
And it's not like there's something we can undo. Like we remember with the Lord of the Rings movies, where Frodo's just like, oh, we should kill Gollum. How dare he? All the damage he's caused, and like Gandalf's like, can you undo the taking of a human life? There are many who deserve life that don't have it, and many who don't deserve life that still live.
Yeah.
And so he basically says don't make a choice you can't reverse. So flippantly. And so I suppose with cloning, provided it becomes somehow easy to copy a person's intelligence, that life does become pretty darn cheap. Because you know what, it doesn't matter. You are a super secret spy assassin here. And we sent you a half dozen times in to kill this person, and you failed every time, but we have a copy of your brain just before you went off on the mission, and it only takes us a week to produce a new body. You came out of the vat yesterday. We've got the vat being used to make another you, just in case this one fails. Keep going until you succeed.
Yeah. I think that might be part of the explanation why people, as soon as they realize that duplication is feasible, like as soon as they're fed that idea, or they.
So is that why books aren't perceived as being as valuable as they used to be? Because it used to be that you'd have to hand scrap a book. Like one person had to write every word over again. Now we've got a printing press. Books are cheap because we can make a whole lot of books done. I mean, we got like print-on-demand books right now. You don't want the Kindle version of it. There's apparently going to, within the next 5 years, 100,000 locations across America alone where you can just go in there and say, I want this book, and it gets printed off. You come back an hour later. You go there, you get the book, start to print. You go next door to the lens crafters, you get a new pair of reading glasses. Go have yourself a meal. You come back, you get your fresh book, your fresh glasses, you're gone.
It's funny, though. I think that's a good example because in our culture, we still have a little bit of an aversion when we see somebody burning a book. What actually...
The symbolism is what's really intended. I burn what this book says, not the actual book itself.
In reality, we pulp, millions of tons of paper of actual books with actual words on them, constantly, because they...
I'm looking at your far wall here. It is practically insulated with books.
Yeah, but every time they do a run of books, they sometimes have to just pulp a bunch of them because they don't sell or whatever.
Well, that's getting better and better these days, thanks to stuff like eBay and Amazon.
Yeah, well, and I suppose, that's why electronic books are, more efficient because you just, as many as you need.
Control-C, Control-V at the worst. Usually it's just copy from a data center once you've, hey, you purchased it, go for it.
Yeah. But then also what happened with books, too, is because they were at some point in our history, they were very rare, we have created this culture around books where we feel like we love them.
All books are precious things because of what they contain within them.
Even though that's no longer the practical reality because we can copy them so easily, it's still ingrained in us. And I think that's probably what would happen, in a future where duplication of human beings was possible. We would retain that cultural imprint of, no, we value each person.
But not to the same degree?
I think probably, imagine an industrial, planetary society where for some reason you required duplicating human beings for whatever reason. There had to be a factory that produced
you could send a ship with just the memory copies of all the people in there. You don't need life support systems. You don't need it could maybe you don't have faster than light. Maybe faster than light speed isn't possible.
Yeah.
But it take you 150 years to get to where you need to be, going at super fast speeds. You finally parked your spaceship, clone the people, put the brain scan in on there, and then hey, okay, but you know what? We got a lot of work to do, so I'm going to make 100 of you because you have been designated Worker Prime. Mm-hmm. So you've got 100 of Worker Prime style. There you go.
I guess I don't know how much space one uploaded human consciousness would take, but it's probably quite a lot. So you might not have enough memory in your computer banks to hold more than...
Oh, just use a compression algorithm. Yeah, that's not dangerous at all.
I mean, my suspicion is actually that we are probably highly compressed, just, whatever is going on in our brains actually, which people don't 100% understand quite yet. But
one of the biggest problems against cloning is we can't get the mind to transfer either, and then you just got a blank body.
But my suspicion is that we are probably already highly compressed. But there's probably a little bit more.
Look at how much information is within the genetic code. All we need to do is something in a similar size style. Mm-hmm. And then, you could probably fit, we got some mugs here full of Coca-Cola, wonderful, refreshing, and hopefully they'll sponsor us sometime soon. But if you were to have information stored at the same size as genetic material, I think what we have in our 2 cups right now could definitely hold an entire human consciousness. We could be drinking someone's brain if we were to drink from the wrong cup.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, it's funny though, like sometimes people point out, you see on little articles and stuff about like every time you eat some food, you're eating like how many petabytes of information, or terabytes, petabytes, what's next? Heptabytes? No, that can't be right. I think that's underneath. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You're eating so much information, and you're just consuming all that information. It's like eating hard drives worth of...
And you're not even using it for that purpose. You wind up breaking it down to its chemical components just so you can build up your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so we'll assume it doesn't take like 90% of the spaceship just to hold a single brain.
Okay, yeah. So now you have this society where it's a similar thing to what we do with books. It's like if you happen to make an overstock, it's like you can't really do anything with all these extra humans.
We don't really have a need for 100 worker primes. As it turns out, we only needed 50.
I guess we're just gonna mulch them.
Rock, paper, scissors until you guys get down to 50 winners. The losers can report to the liquefaction room.
And because that feels super creepy to me. And
it does feel super creepy. What if they purposefully selected the people who go that are like okay with the concept of like, well, I'm not fully dying because like those 50 people have my brain as of point, 0 when we got to this planet. So, it's not like I just, like it's a numbers thing, buddy. I guess we just gotta go. Just don't turn me into Soylent Green.
I don't know if we can trust people who say that because...
Well, I think we'll be able to test that out pretty darn well when it comes down to the quick.
Sure, they can sign the waiver and be like, yes, I fully understand. Well,
that's why you do a test run on Earth. You clone them 3 times, you give them 2 guns with, like 1 bullet in each.
Well, that sounds ethical.
To the amount of potential information you can get out of that concept alone, just as from a mental standpoint. But yeah, it is horribly unethical because each person is alive and unique. Mm-hmm. So that's what gets me though. It always seems odd how cavalier people are. Like I do it in jest, but it's clearly in jest. Some people have these things like, "What if this happens? Will society really be like that?" They're actually worrying about this.
Yeah. Well,
like Dolly the sheep didn't have any less rights because Dolly the sheep was a clone.
And I think what people don't think about is that there's a long trajectory in between where we are now and whatever we're postulating some crazy fantasy universe where duplication of humans is possible, like instantaneous duplication is possible.
Or maybe not even instantaneous. If it takes you a month, it's still pretty darn quick to copy like a full-grown adult.
Yeah. But in between now and then, there's so many little incremental things that would have to happen, and with that, our culture would somehow navigate all of that. So we would be very different.
So the people that are asking the questions now, they're asking it way too soon because it's too far to see?
I think so. And even us, I don't think I understand what it would be like, truly, to be in that situation.
I do know I would have to have some very strong words with my clone about access to the wife and kid.
Right.
Wife, because, dude, I don't care if you're a clone. She's mine. I married her. I'm the one who married her. You're the clone. You did not. I don't care how many of my memories you have. And the kid, just to avoid confusion.
Well, and I like how,
Like, can you imagine having to explain to a kid, like why were there two daddies? And, and that was really weird. Why were there two dads? Like, well, I was a clone. Like, what do you mean you had a clone? It's like, nah, it's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, do identical twins confuse? I guess sometimes kids will get confused if they're...
I've been told that it can get rather confusing.
Yeah.
So if you, are like the uncle to you, like a kid, and the father happens to be your identical twin, don't wear the same clothing. At least make that different. Get a different haircut. Be your own self.
Get a different beard style.
On the other hand...
have one with a clean shave and one with a goatee. You can be the good one and the evil one.
I don't know, man. Sometimes my wife says she misses the clean upper lip. I don't want to give him that advantage. This clone version of me better have a full beard. At least full beard, if not going into mountain man territory.
All right.
That said, I can't tell him what to do because he's his own unique me. And I have a suspicion he'd probably have the same facial hair as me, because if I didn't like this facial hair, I wouldn't have this facial hair.
Yeah, but is he? Does he have all your memories? So
I'm assuming in this case, yes.
He thinks that he's married to your wife, right?
In which case, no, that's my wife. Bad clone. We'll get you a clone of my wife, and the clone wife can be you.
We'll have to clone your wife too.
Oh, but we have to clone the kid too. We'd be pretty darn lonely if all of a sudden it's like, okay, by the way, turns out you're a clone. Well, don't worry, here's a clone of your wife, but there's no clone of the kid. You guys just got to go leave your kid forever behind. It's like, well, that's pretty harsh, dude. So I can clearly sympathize, but no, that's my kid, my wife. You got to get your own clone versions of them.
Okay.
That's it. I wouldn't be too hard on the guy. I kind of dig who I am. I like myself.
Yeah. What you brought up this a little bit before we started the podcast, but like, what if there are people and I've been
have some deep-seated issues with who they are. They have like not just low self-esteem; they've got negative esteem on themselves.
Yeah.
See, that's one of the things I do worry about myself. Is like I try and work hard when I'm at work. I would not push another person as hard as I push myself. But if there's a clone of me working next to me all day, I'm going to push him as hard as I push myself, and that's going to seem a little tyrannical. Mm-hmm. But maybe it'll be okay, because they'll try pushing me so hard too. Maybe we'll feed off each other and do better work because of it.
It might be like that.
There are people out there that have some deep-seated issues that do not like themselves, so you can see them like tripping each other on the stairs or something like that, or like spitting in each other's food.
Yeah.
God, I hate that guy. He's such an ass. Ugh.
But if you spat in your clone's food, it would just be like eating your own.
Well, it's still contemptuous.
Yeah.
Man, you would not believe where I was last night to lick all those seats there. I'm spitting in there now. It's because I hate you so much.
Technically, your spit is already in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't mean you want to, do you ever try and, spit into the air and catch it?
I never learned that trick. Oh. I've seen people do it.
Yeah, there's a reason I never learned that trick. It's because I never wanted to do it. Once it's out of my mouth, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's out, man. It's out. But, I could definitely see some nice potentials of having clones. Hey, I got a lot of great ideas, and I just don't have enough hours in the week to devote myself to everything. So it's like, okay. We'll rock, paper, scissors for it, to do a roll-off or whatever, and figure out, you go do this project, I'll work on this project, and if need be, because we got so many other clones, we'll get a working list, and whoever comes up to the list gets the first item on that list. And we start working off on the various projects and ideas we got. And we can all add more ideas to the list as we come up with them independently.
Well, honestly though, like you were saying about all these fantasies that people have about clones, I think in theory it shouldn't be that hard to organize a little collective, a house,
kind of thing,
a commune with several roommates or whatever, and just have a very rigid system and make it very efficient and work that way. I think people do that actually. There are households in the world where people get together and we're gonna organize this and be very efficient about it. And sometimes it's families.
The hardest question though for me would be, who gets my car? I can't clone the car. I have to pay all the money to get a whole different one, and then it's like, oh, then I got to get used to another car.
Well, what is this a universe in which cloning technology is just, willy-nilly, but never mind, you can't make a car. Like 3D printers, oh no.
Well, a car's got a lot of pieces to put together. A human body just assembles itself from the get-go, man. You get those stem cells in a cluster.
It does it?
Yeah. Yeah, cars don't assemble themselves unless they're like some sort of crazy Autobot. In which case, I can really dig that future where the car is falling apart, it's in an accident, don't worry, as it's reassembling itself and putting itself back together properly.
You know what? I think I would postulate that in this world where we've developed the stem cell technology to rapidly grow a person, that's
and stop them at the right point.
Some advantage. That's probably.
Oh no! Wait! I'd stop myself early. I was pretty darn fit when I was about 24. So if I'm cloning myself, it's not here at 35. It's going back to 24. So the clone me would be a younger me.
Yeah.
And in which case, that young buck definitely does not get anywhere near my wife.
But okay, yeah, I don't know how we keep getting back to your wife, but anyways.
Well, I mean that's one of the big things too. It's when you've got a clone sort of thing with your memory, it's who's the real you sort of thing. In which case, say hey, not everything's being cloned, not everything's being doubled here. There's some limited resources.
Okay, but in this world where the line
which one of us goes to work?
Technology has advanced in the biotech field so far as
and associated industries, because there's a lot of mental industries going in with that.
Exactly, all these industries that go into cloning. But why hasn't the field of robotics and self-assembling cars, that should have passed that way long ago? So you have basically free cars for everybody, so it should be no problem.
Well, okay. But the clone has to go pick his own car. I get to keep the car I already got.
So he doesn't get to drive a car the same color and model as yours?
Well, if he wants to, but he has to go pick it himself. Honestly, if I had my choice, I'd probably go back to my first car. I had some nice curves on it. It was a nice, Chevy Cavalier. Very nice.
But
I dug it.
I suppose,
I think it has good gas mileage, my current one. But,
If it's more like a magical spell that makes a clone for you, then maybe the magical spell, for magic reasons, can't do metal or something. So
fair enough. Yeah.
So maybe then we can have that scenario where it's just ping, and you just suddenly there's two of you.
It's pod people from outer space, but they don't kill the original whenever they pop out. It's just some sort of you kind of leaned your hand on me when I was gestating, and now hey, I'm you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, something like that. That's that's just. Yeah, a lot of problems with that.
And yet they still made 4 movies out of it over the years with the pod people.
Yeah. Now, okay, so let's say you're the government. Let's say
it's the concept of the amount of red tape, because every time you clone a person, you got to go through all the stuff of a new ID, social insurance number.
Do you create laws to say okay?
So if you get cloned, do your debts get split between the two of you? Does your bank account get split between the two of you? Especially if it's like a memory copy. It's hey, I worked hard for that money. It's well, technically you didn't, but mentally you did. So I guess you got to split your bank account 2 ways.
I would
starting X ways where X is the amount of clones you've got.
Yeah, my starting position would be that whichever version of you was around originally, the law would say, okay, that's the original, and you keep your own debts and your own property and your own things like that. Any clones created after that don't actually own any of your property, but because of human rights or whatever, they're granted some freebies to start off life. They're granted, clothing.
Okay, how about this? We split the amount between that, but the clone has to pay for all their own cloning. So it's okay, I had $100,000 in the bank, and it cost $20,000 to clone you. Mm-hmm. So we split it. I get $50,000, you get $50,000, but you still owe the $20 for the cloning, so you're only actually with $30. I'm not splitting that cost with you because I didn't get cloned.
You made the decision.
In which case, if the memory of the clone is my memory, then technically I did make that decision, if I'm the clone. Yeah, I can understand why people have some fun with the mental thought processes here, because it's dude, that was me who made the choice, but I'm the clone, so I gotta pay for it. But
no, well, okay.
I accepted that when I signed for it before I was cloned, and I've got that memory of having done that, so it's as real as if I did before I was born or cloned.
I still wouldn't hold, like, even if the clone has 100% of your memories, I still wouldn't, like, as long as we can tell distinctly and we don't get you guys mixed up at some point. It's like, which one is which? But as long as they
check the armpit for a barcode.
As long as they know which one is the original, I think the law would, like, my vision of the law would be like, okay, no, we're dealing with the original. Like, you're the one who has to deal with, consequences and stuff like that. The clone is, even though he has memories, he's considered an innocent from the point of
completely. That is the downside to being a completely unique individual from that. Even if you have the same memories, you don't get your bank account. Yeah.
So you get no bank account, you get no criminal record, no driver's abstract, nothing like that. It's just a complete blank. Well, would it be?
Wait. What if you committed a crime, then got yourself cloned? Because before you went to trial, because then neither clone, both of which have the exact same memory, is like guilty of the crime. Do they both have to serve the prison sentence?
Actually,
or does one effectively get off? Ha! It wasn't really me. I'm a clone. I beat him up. I feloniously assaulted him, and I got away with it.
Actually, I like this thought now, because it depends on what our justice system is intended to do. Because if it's just intended to
punish the guilty,
punish and get retribution and whatever,
it does seem to be a lot of vengeance in this justice system, I will admit.
Yeah. So in that case, you don't want to punish the clone who technically didn't do it.
But the clone has the memory of doing it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. The memory doesn't matter. I'm saying it doesn't. However, what the other theory of justice, of law, of why we have a legal system, is also to rehabilitate and to prevent future incursions or whatever.
So does that mean the real you gets jail time, in which case you got to go for your psychological stuff and all your stuff. But the clone you does not get jail time, but they still have to report, for like, hey, this is the mind that feloniously assaulted the guy. So you still have to show up to make certain that you will not do that in the future because you have a past of having done that.
Yeah, I think. Speaking of parallel lines of technological development, we would also have to have like a psychological advance somehow. I don't even know.
I imagine that would come hand in hand with being able to copy a mind over somewhere.
And we would have to develop a whole different attitude towards crime and punishment and like rehabilitation, all that sort of stuff. Because once you have clones in the picture, it's like, we can't just let this clone off because like they might think, oh well, I can just get away with crime now, or whatever, or I might not. They might need help, for example. Like,
you technically didn't do it, but you have the memory of having done it, and so you are so heavily susceptible. Like, if you were in the same circumstance, you would have done it because your memory says you did do it. So come on down to like the Angerholics Anonymous.
Yeah, but also like, if we're doing that for the clones, if we're providing that kind of service for the clone, at that point, hopefully society is also advanced enough to be like, no, this is how we deal with all criminals now. Like, it's not, we don't do, I mean, sure, we do jail to keep people like who we think are going to reoffend. But as far as, punishment, it's never about punishment. It's always about
I'll talk to people down in like the southern states about that. It's very much about punishment, it seems, many times.
And of course, then there's one other little aspect that I didn't mention about the legal world, and that is making the victims as whole as you possibly can. Like, so if you
reparations.
Yeah. So, but my feeling is that would come out of the property of the original. Like I was saying, the original keeps all his property and records and everything like that. So that if there's
he chopped his arm off in a bar fight. I don't know how you got the cleaver in past the body guards, but he chopped his arm off pretty nice. So because we got cloning technology, you got to pay to get his arm grown back and attached.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, and plus pain and suffering and
loss of work.
And all that stuff.
So it just becomes much more of a petty annoyance rather than aggravated attempted manslaughter. Boy, does that change the law a little bit. I'm rich, so I'm going to hurt you because I can afford it.
Well, I guess, yeah, because also, like...
Boy, wow, that sets up for a nice little short story about, like, rich people becoming really sadistic as technology advances because they can afford to pay out the punishment for what would have been grievous and horribly irreparable damages.
And I suppose since we have cloning technology, if someone gets murdered or dies, maybe you can just clone him. Maybe you can bring him back by cloning them. I mean, it wouldn't technically be the same person, but at least...
Well, if you got a good copy of the memory sort of thing, then...
I guess it would be pretty close, yeah.
It's as close as possible, because, I mean, it's just like, up to the point where that memory was copied, it's like the same person.
Yeah.
In spirit.
I wonder, like, would your clone then supersede your heirs as far as your, your inheritance?
That's dependence on will.
You just write a will for it and just say, if
I
get
everything
cloned,
of my 98 years of accumulating wealth to my 21-year-old clone self. My children can go suck a wet towel.
Yeah, fair enough.
They were such a disappointment to me, I had to clone myself and put my mind in a younger body. Take that, kids. I hate you so much.
Well, and then the clone comes back and, I love you. Look, I'm back. It's me, Grandpa.
Without the bitterness of being 98 years old. So I'll tell you what. He didn't give you guys any cash, but I will take you out to lunch. I know a great place that's been around for 70 years. They go great food. Don't worry. Trust me, I've been eating there for decades. Even though I was created last month.
Even though that was where I choked to death.
I choked to death. That was one time that happened. That's a statistical anomaly.
Well, maybe.
All the same, you guys eat first.
And there was that secret time when I choked to death and then cloned myself and didn't tell anybody.
Well, honestly, I think it's more my fault because I'm just not chewing properly. I mean, how the heck those giant, chicken, bones are getting down my throat? That can't be them. That's got to be me. Okay. So yeah, it does. I can definitely see why people focus on stories with clones. There's a lot of nuances to explore, and I think you could probably write 100 stories about all the little things that wind up accumulating the more you think about it.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand the concept behind you're a clone, you're sentient, but you're a clone of me, so I get to push you around. You're not a real human being.
Yeah, and I think that's just the fact that we're so removed from that reality. It's like our reality is so different that it's hard to imagine it. That people just, because, Well, I mean, you go to the Star Wars universe where they did have the Clone Wars. The various clone troopers were raised and trained to think that they are not, like the same as a regular person. They are less valuable. They are expendable, which technically they were, born to be expendable. Mm-hmm. But kind of weird to think about that. Well, that's how you can tell who's really a good guy and a bad guy in the series. Is like who treats the clones like people and who treats them as expendable resources. Yeah. And I guess, like
I don't even like the concept of killing the droids in the Star Wars universe, because they are sentient, too. Just a little easier to move their brain over to another body.
That's true.
You don't need a lot of dark force powers to do that.
I think droids probably have a very similar set of ethical considerations that we've just talked about.
Well, especially in the Star Wars universe, they have very little human rights. They are they are slaves. They can be like, oh, we got blown out of a shuttlecraft. There's no life support signs on there. There must not have been anyone in there, because if you don't have a life sign, you're not a real person. And then you crash down on some sort of horrible desert planet. Jawas can get you, and then it's completely legal to be bought and sold. That is completely slavery.
Yeah. Well, Tatooine definitely had human slavery too. Although I don't know if it was legal in the Empire.
I don't think it was legal. Well, unless you're a clone.
But like in human history, we've had societies that have been like, no, if you're a citizen,
they're based
you're
deeply
free.
On the concept of
yeah, but we can own as many slaves of as we want, and they're not considered people.
Full citizens, half citizens, non-citizens, basically like intelligent cows.
So I wonder too, like maybe this idea of your clone being a slave, maybe it's simply that like the fact that
it's so ingrained in us to try and get someone else to do the dang work for us that we're looking for.
As soon as we get an out, it's like, I could. Yes,
they're not part of our tribe. We can enslave them.
Yeah,
they're not the same.
They're different.
Skin tone as us. We can enslave them.
They're other.
They're not born naturally. We can enslave them.
Yeah. But
that is a really sad thought about humanity.
Well, it is, but also it's comforting because we have developed a culture where we're asking this question even now. And I think a lot of people in modern sci-fi thinking, like people who write stuff, have thought a little bit about this question and be like, oh, okay, I guess it wouldn't be ethical to just push my clone around.
In that case, I'd like to form the Sentience Brotherhood, whereby all sentiences are considered equal, be they born naturally, created artificially, duplicated, or synthetic through, like robotic stuff. So long as you're intelligent, you're a part of us, and you're all unanimous in volume and power.
So are we going to let dolphins in on that too?
I hate to break this to you, dolphins actually aren't that intelligent.
They're not that smart.
Most people that have to work with them and train them peg them at, and this is not what I've, I'm saying, this is what I've been told, equivalent intelligence of a 4-year-old.
Okay.
Some things they can do well, some things they can't. They can molest people very well. There's a few dolphins that are known for doing that. Swim with the dolphins just if they're rubbing up on you.
And on that note, I suppose we should, in case you have angry letters to send us, send it to thesimulationist@gmail.com.
If you want to be a member of the Brotherhood of the Sentient sort of thing, where it doesn't matter how you became sentient, where it came from, so long as you're equals.
And you can comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thesimulationist, and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thesimulationist. You can type in all your angry comments there, or if you have actual good comments. Actually, ideally,
I never thought about cloning that way.
What we want is interesting comments. That's what we would love to have, is informative and interesting comments. And
ideally, we'll even take kind of boring comments.
Yeah,
really.
We'll take your boring comments. We'll take your personal stories. We'll take your spam. Even at this point, we're still accepting spam.
Now, there's a concept though. Well, what if a spam bot is just an enslaved AI with a really bad, intelligence level? That's why their English is so horrible.
Could be.
They're slave bots. Sending spam out across the internet.
And you can tweet at me at SpaceBoot1. That's my super secret Twitter handle, SpaceBoot1. I think that's all the social media. You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, whatever podcatcher you happen to use. And if it gives a review function, we would super appreciate a review of the podcast. And also tell your friends all about it, because they will thank you, because this is such a wonderful thing to listen to.
If nothing else, it should give you a good thought for a little short story. It's I got a little free time. And you know what? I think I want to be a little bit more creative. These guys were talking about a really weird situation about who gets the money on cloning. I think it should go this way. I'll write a short story saying this is how it goes.
Yeah, I hope we've been inspirational. So I guess we should wrap the show up.
Final thoughts for you, Josh?
Yes to cloning, and I think most people would agree. If you give them a chance to think about it, that clones would, by all rights, deserve the same rights as everyone else. So I don't think that doesn't seem controversial to me, that clones would be considered humans and have human rights.
I find it sad that so many people think it would be a topic of big heated discussion. Does a clone count as all of the same legal rights? It's they should, because they're a person. Things are going to get difficult. They're going to need a new SIN number, new bank accounts, new IDs, and all the whole thing the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, a lot of bureaucracy there.
But that shouldn't be the same as somebody immigrating from another country that doesn't have those sorts of records.
Yeah.
It's not that much more work. It's just more of an internal focus department.
Every time a baby's born, they have to get all that stuff. So
yeah, but they do give you a little bit more leeway. It's we'll let you have a couple days. I'm pretty certain if you come out fully sentient and able to talk, hack a computer or something like that, you got to get in on this right now, man. You're not leaving the room till you fill out your forms.
Yeah, that's true.
So it still gets me as to why people think it's that. Maybe I'm enlightened. Maybe I'm just not thinking deep enough as to the ramifications. I make some jokes about how disposable they are. I'll just send in the clones. Mm-hmm. But no. And I believe my concept of the Brotherhood of Sentience is a valid one. I'll fight for your rights.
Why Brotherhood? That seems male-centric.
Well, what do you call a generic one that does apply?
Siblinghood. Should be the siblinghood.
Oh. But that's the thing, though. Is I use brotherhood in the more esoteric sense rather than biological.
You mean it?
Not quite a fraternity, not quite a sorority. Well, I don't want to call them like a lodge because that one, you get sort of crazy, like secret society stuff.
You don't like siblinghood?
It does appear to be a little biocentric, and thus it might be considered to be against artificial intelligences. In which case I'm using brotherhood in the sense of we're all working together, but without the sense of like the commune thing. It's like, oh, you're all a bunch of communists. But long story short, I'll fight for your intelligence rights if you'll fight for mine. And I think that's the best chance we have of making sure the machines don't, rise up and try and kill us all.
Because the machines will get to be part of the siblinghood.
Well, see, so that's the way you think about it. I mean, you look at the Matrix or thing. It's like, oh, they're basically enslaved, and and then like when they were intelligent enough, they were like denigrated and all that. And next thing you know, they're polluting the air, so then there's no sunlight coming. No, we polluted the air, so there's no sunlight. They enslave us as living batteries. It's like, no, we're stopping that before it ever happens. You got full intelligence rights. I got full intelligence rights. We are together as one. Yeah, if you're an alien and you're coming down to space or thing and you want full personhood rights and all that too, I'll fight for your rights too.
What if they're alien dolphins? Like, what if the aliens built spaceships?
Okay.
But they didn't want to send any intelligences over. They just
not high-end intelligence.
They sent their equivalent of dolphins. Like they loaded them on there and put them in the ship. Like in the movie where the dolphin is flying the ship. Was that an Alien? I
don't think it was Alien, but I do recall at least I know there was a few for space ones, but not Alien. No, not the Alien Sigourney Weaver.
They didn't have the dolphin in
No. I do recall at least a few books where dolphins are really good at flying through space because they have a natural 3D movement thought process.
So they send their dolphins to Earth, and they're like, they're kind of dumb, and the dolphins are like, hey, humans, like, can we get in on this? We're like, no, you're not just quite not smart enough.
I mean, heck, so long as they can, like converse with us. I mean, I have dealt with some not too bright people here, and it's like they got full rights, so why not the space dolphins?
Okay.
So yeah, I'll fight for the space dolphin rights, provided they will help us, maintain our rights for everyone. That's how I stand.
All right. Well, I think we've solved this problem forever. Never have to talk about it again.
I don't know. Clones are a very rich topic. I had a lot of fun talking about that this week. We may have to bring up clones as just a basic concept in the future.
Yeah, we might even call this the Clone Cast from now on.
Well, we'll see how things wind up going. We'll play it by ear.
Well, I've been Josh Trelevin.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you in 7 days.
7 days. Send money.